It took forever, but I finally got a Magicka Dragonknight build that I liked. Hey everyone, this is Waffenocht, and I'm going to share with you finally a build that took me forever to get built just because I did not like anything. It was frustrating to get to this point, but I finally got something I actually enjoy and aren't too worried about with the Magicka Dragonknight. Real quick, there's the stats. I'm going to read through what it is, what I'm running, and then I'll talk about the build. I like to call it Regenerator. It's inspired by about 5-year-old build I remember that was a stamina-based Viper and some other regeneration sets. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I made this one. The race is Dunmer. The Mundus stone is Steed. I use Orzaga smoked bear haunch for the food. It is a vampire. I'm at stage 1. The attributes are 39 in Magicka with 25 in health. That's to get it up to a little over 30k in no CP. I'm using Vateshran's Destruction Staff Inferno. It is sharpened. I'm using a fire glyph on it. I'm also using Orgnum's Scales set. 3 on the body and then 2 with sword and board, making 5 altogether on the back bar. You can use many different traits. I would prefer a defending on the sword. Divines on shield is optimal with a health enchantment in order to increase like your defensive posture shield if you need to use it. I am using Alessian Order 5 all the time. I use 1 Chokethorn. You can use a Skoria piece if you want more penetration to deal more damage if you don't feel like you need the extra regeneration from Chokethorn. The whole set of the body pieces should be divines with Magicka enchantments. I'll get a bit more into why the divines and why mine isn't all Magicka enchantments. I am using 7 heavy. I do not have undaunted mettle, so there's no point for me to using the 6 and 1, though if I did have it I would use 6 heavy with 1 light. The jewelry is 1 infused trait, and I would like to have 2 swift traits. But until I get the undaunted mettle, I want the health, and I need more transmutation crystals as well. That's using 3 regen glyphs. I know a lot of people have been telling me and would suggest to use the Magicka cost reduction glyph, but I prefer gaining the health regen and the stamina regen because I also like to block. The abilities on the Inferno staff are Elemental Drain, Unrelenting Grip, Burning Embers, Coagulating Blood, Molten Whip with Ferocious Leap. The back bar sword and board is Introspection, Molten Armaments, Volatile Armor, Defensive Stance, Elusive Mist, and Spell Wall. So overall, when I reach full undaunted mettle, I will have 2 swit traits over the healthy on jewelry with the last enchantment Magicka on body, because then I won't lose as much health, because of the undaunted mettle, and then I can use that extra health to bust up the swift. That way you have a ton of speed increase while in mist form, and after using Unrelenting Grip, you also get the Major Expedition buff as well to make you really move quickly. Just real quick on the video, this is a 3v1 when I was trying to make the video. I'm kind of guessing the PvE players, but with 3 of them in no CP, they should have done better, but you can tell how good this health stat regen build is. Minimal kind of damage. It's not a big damage dealing build, but it has enough to kill people in no CP, especially when running Malacath's band. I have Malacath's band on this. I may not have mentioned it earlier, but pretty much all builds in no CP that are heavy armor should be running Malacath's band, unless it's really a niche build. Anyway, with this build, when you're under 60% health, the build sits at over 5,200 health regen. That's while in mist form. Makes you almost impossible to kill while you're in mist form, especially when you have all of these speed buffs that allow you to los. When you do manage to get out of their line of sight, you can then run Introspection to get all your stats back, maybe even more health. A combination I also like to use is using Spell Wall and then activating Introspection even within a group of people because they can't bash you, and you're getting your massive damage mitigation through block, and then you get the channel buff from the Physic spell line, skill line, and then you also get the health and the stat regen and just restart all over. And then you can even switch into block. So you have Mist Form, block, spell wall, and introspection in order to keep you from dying. As long as you don't have too many ability delays, desyncs, or just happen to not be paying attention, then you really should not die. I have had times where I died, of course, mainly because I wasn't paying attention or because of I was dead without the game actually telling me I was dead, and I would have reacted far differently had I known my life was that much that low. Overall, you do like the 30k health. That's a good amount in this meta. It gives you a defensive posture ward with mitigation, with Mist Form in order to prevent a lot of damage. The stats with, say, Magicka Regen or Stamina Regen may be a bit lower. I was talking to people. Magicka Dragonknight doesn't need to have a whole lot of Magicka recovery in order to sustain with its abilities, such as using the ultimate to get your stats back, using that ability that whenever you set someone on fire, you gain stats back. You have Elemental Drain with the tether, providing you with more Magicka coming back. So it does not run as lean as one would think with as low as the stats as it has. Again, and then the damage stat is really low, but as you can see in these videos, it has enough to kill opponents and more than enough survivability to take on and get out of multiple opponent situations, and that's what I was going for. With Magicka Dragonknight, everything else, because I did try other proc sets. I did try using your more standard Magicka build, and I did not like it. I may have done well, but with the higher MMR battles, it just wasn't performing to what I liked. This is what I found to like. Apparently, having over 5,000 health regen with Mist Form and everything else makes it a good enough build to do well against Wardens and Necromancers. This is a decent match. Want to call out Murder Most Foul. I'm sure he glad that he gets to be seen in this video as I chase him down a couple of times because he's on the opposing side. Got a few opponents on my team that I recognize, a few opponents on other teams I recognize. I didn't want to give a really long video this time, just wanted to more talk about the build. This is reminiscent of anything you'll see on the PC EU, really high health regen, really abusing Mist Form. Luckily, I don't have as many opponents that know how to combat Mist Form as people do on the PC EU server. But as you can tell, this build does wonderfully against people who haven't really adapted to the high health proc meta as well as they should have. Murder Most Foul does fine overall. He does end up being positive. I just had to make sure I chased him down quite a bit. Ferociously, see, I'm still getting used to using Dragonknight as well as I could be. I don't block as much as I should. I know using Ferocious Sleep should be more of like an execute or set you up into an execute. I also know that you're supposed to use it if your resources run low. That's what I'm trying to perform and try to do. I also noticed a lot of the better players may disengage sooner than I would. I like to push the envelope with how long I stay in the fight with against multiple opponents like you see here. As you can tell, I blocked until my Magicka got high enough where I could go to Mist Form. I actually turned back because I figured in this battle not many people were giving chase, and so if I turned right back around and attacked, they would not have expected that, and it looks like exactly what ended up happening. The build gets a ton of assists. That's one really annoying thing because you don't have an execute. You end up dealing 90% of someone's health, and then one of your allies comes up with an execute and simply takes away that kill. Most battles I do have the most amount of damage on my team, if not comparable to the most amount of damage. The only builds I have seen that I am not comparable to are a lot of Warden builds. Those builds I end up seeing them doing 20 kills, very few deaths, breaking 1 million damage easy. I may have performed just as well, not just as well, but I may have performed well in one of those matches, but not around that numbers with this build. I prefer to build more tanky. That way it's not just getting ganked and YOLO type playstyle. I'm not a big fan of that. Remember also, you can use Introspection in the middle of a battle. Not many players think immediately to bash it, so if you do it for a few seconds and then get out of it, they won't expect it coming and you easily get all those resources back. The reason why I don't use Zan, I just saw Zan there in the video and it made me think about it, is because too many players right now, good players anyways, have a counter to it. A Nightblade can usually use Cloak, Templar can use their Purge, Mistform is available to everybody and is just a hard counter as well to any of the tethers. It's hard to keep up with someone in Mistform when you're trying to use a build that's utilizing Zan. Streak is a very common way for people to break stuff now too. So I don't like the whole try and sit in Mistform while waiting for your Zan and tether to go off. I needed something a bit more proactive than that. That's why I invested in the Malacath. And the high health regen just keeps you going rather well. And you always have access to major endurance with your coagulating blood. That way you don't have to rely on tri-stack potions. I would typically be using detection potions with Magicka Return. That way I can see these annoying Nightblades while still being able to keep the resources as high as possible. So I know it's a shorter video. I really hope you did enjoy the build. If you do have any questions, let me know. I hope you guys keep checking it out, and if you want to see more builds, I'm trying to hit a whole bunch of different classes. Just keep checking it out. No, I'm a bit slower, but I'll be getting them out there. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Bye. It took forever, but I finally got a magic